Hello there. My name is Mark, aka the Canardian, and this is episode 72 of the Holocron Chronicles. I'm joined, as always, by my trusty Zen co-pilot right now. What's with the swaying, Charlie?
Oh, hold on. I didn't see you there. This is just normally what I do.
Okay.
How is everybody? Good evening. Happy Monday. It's time for some Ahsoka-ridge. Ahsoka-ringing? Ahsoka-rash? I don't know. What do I know?
Yeah, let's go with that. And we are joined once again, coming to the rescue, Mr. Peter Stine. How you doing? Welcome back.
Hey, doing all right.
Excellent. Glad to have you back. This is a rare occurrence where we get a back-to-back guest, so it's quite nice to have you. And of course, you came quite prepared.
Peter is very good at that. Peter, of course, is my regular co-host on Code 47, our Star Trek podcast right here on this network. He always comes in costume, but it's funny. The last time we recorded, and we're doing this again this Sunday, we recorded a Patreon segment about Battlestar Galactica, the new series, which, Mark, finally I've got to get you to watch, because again, it's Canadian royalty. Is in BC. It's all pretty much all Canadian actors, a lot of Canadian actors, but I was in costume and he was not, and I was like, oh, I feel really awkward now.
It's one of the few things I don't have a uniform for.
I do. I have two outfits from that. I have the regular outfit, and then I have the BDUs, which is the greens, which is I'm starting I have like a little cosplay coat rack here in my studio now, so that I can just grab something and throw it on. So a Star Trek, a Star Wars, so easy to record. Tonight I am wearing, let's show you, this would be the Dragon Snakes, our mythological X-Wing squadron, and I never go anywhere without my true blue rebel to the core.
Absolutely. And I'm going with my insensitive Alderaan exploding Weather Network t-shirt because I didn't even plan that. I just literally threw it on this morning or this afternoon after a little family hike and literally didn't even know what shirt I was grabbing, and just grabbed something clean off the rack and happened to work. So
it's magic.
I love it. So before we get into the show, we do have a few changes to our Patreon tiers. Charlie, do you want to run through these?
I would love to. So first and foremost, much gratitude, love, and appreciation for the folks that do support us financially, not just emotionally, which is everybody who's listening. Over on our Patreon, please visit patreon.com/secretfriendsunites and try us free for 7 days. Listen to our fun content. I do a great show. Peter is a new collaborator on my The Facts of Geek Life, where we take a classic season of a classic series and break it down and have a good time. Mark, you had a great recent podcast where it was you and your son for like 7 minutes, and you were like, where is this going? I don't care. I don't care where it's going. It was fantastic.
He enjoyed it, and he really got a kick out of hearing it back. I played it on the HomePod speakers through the house, and he at first he was just kind of vibing to that little intro music, and then it was like, wait a second,
right?
This is a talk. Like, I recognize those voices, and he listened to the whole thing. He really got a kick out of it. So I think we're gonna try an episode 2 this week and kind of keep it as a running thing as long as he's interested.
I'm totally down for it. And trust me, at that age, you can't guarantee that they're down for anything consistently. But regardless, we have lots of fun content. We'd love to have you check us out. But we did revise our tiers a little bit. We figured we'd streamline things. And everybody out there, it's funny, I liken this to the Simpsons bit when Homer Simpson finds a robo-dialer in the garbage, and he programs it to robo-dial numbers in Springfield with the Happy Dude message. Send $1 to Happy Dude, 42 Evergreen Terrace, Springfield. And the famous is Mr. Burns sitting there holding $1, said, no, I'd be happier with the $1. And he tucks it back in his pocket. But you won't be. You want to send that $1 to Secret Friends United on a monthly basis because you love us so much. That's our starting tier. We do have a $2 and a $5 tier that have additional benefits. Most importantly, our audio access. And then the $5 tier does give you a little special shout out and your own extra extra special ability and personage granted to you on our various podcasts. So friends who are with us right now and who have been with us from the hall, on our Friends with Benefits lever, we have Mr. Corey in HD, John Sadorf, the fantastic Phoenix Sisters cosplay, Banger McBanger, third Banger, son of Banger of the House of Bangers. Now, I covered this on SFU. That is Brendan Myers. So that's the one banger you get next time you're just Brendan Meyer. BFF level is the Steady Eddies. We have the Nias family, Sean, Stella and Henry, and Annie Milliken. We are very grateful for your patronage. Again, visit patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite. Try out our content. We have a hell of a lot of fun, and we'd like to share it with you. So thank you very much, everyone.
Absolutely. I do have to say, I really wish I could have somehow filmed this segment with my son and I, just because of how ridiculous it was. Like, he was literally climbing across the table. Like, I, at one point, had my microphone in my hand, was pushing my computer back so he didn't just knock everything off the table. He climbed from this side of me to over here. And
you were like a man on the scene, like you were filming a hurricane. You know, you were like, here's Hurricane Finn, now hitting Cape Breton Island.
I needed, because I did it with this mic and just kind of set, like, you know, instead of just directional, it was omnidirectional.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
So, but I need like a more portable, like an actual, you know, a microphone, I think, because it was just like, how do I wrangle a tornado and put a microphone in front of it?
You do not. Bill Paxton proved that to us with the Twister. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So I'll continue. We are, of course, on YouTube. Please subscribe to us, Secret Friends Unite. You can see this fun craziness. You get the benefit of seeing what's going on behind me. Peter and his magnificent, he always gives us a great background, and his costumes. And Mark doing whatever in his kitchen, which we always appreciate.
I got Amanda Homa back there. It counts for something.
I did. I can't make it up, but I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, right. I did. Right. There's a screen effect now, so everything's like blurry in the background. I'm not used to that, so I guess you can just look at me. I don't know.
There could be the Canadian Sasquatch walking through, or some kind of fish creature that came out of the sea. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lightsaber for you.
There you go. All right.
I've modified this one now. I've added a little leather strip and some weathered paint. So there we go. That's
cool. I love
something for the video.
Exactly why we got to get you out to Michigan for some cosplay photography. But anyway, moving forward, we do have a news story. And Mark, I know that you really wanted to talk about this.
I thought this was the weirdest thing ever. We can just quickly touch on this, but Guillermo del Toro confirmed that he was working on a now scrapped Star Wars movie about... Because, okay, before I say what this was about, for anyone listening that doesn't know, I'm going to keep you on the hook for a second. First off, this comes from the Hollywood Reporter. It is legit. I am a big fan of Guillermo del Toro. I like most, if not all, of his stuff. I think he's a weird, quirky actor. I think he's done some really fantastic stuff. His monster work is always amazing. He is imaginative and creative. With that being said, he was working on a now scrapped Star Wars movie about Jabba the Hutt.
Oh my God! Oh ho ho! Utaka tuka solo. I mean, you know, let's just put it into perspective.
Yep.
I mean, Book of Boba Fett. Take it down a couple pegs. Take it down a couple more pegs. Get a shovel. Dig a hole, dig a little deeper, and now you have.
You might find Maul after. You might find Maul's lower half.
Yeah.
Because everything was half off at the mall. Oh boy. Okay. Yeah, Mark. Back to you.
I don't even know where to go with this. So there's some quotes. Quote, "We designed a great world. We designed great stuff. We learned," said Del Toro about the project. He was working with screenwriter David S. Goyer on this one. This sounded fairly legit. They've both worked on some amazing stuff. There was a lot of again quote a lot of behind the scenes stuff going on at Lucasfilm at the time. This one's from Goyer himself, but it's a cool script, he said. I just
his quote 100% reminds me of "We lived, we laughed, we loved, we hurled," like a Wayne's World kind of thing.
Right. So you mentioned Boba Fett. Could this have been like a seedy underworld of like maybe Jabba's just, this crime boss and it's all of the bounty hunters and people that he works with? This would be probably, I'm guessing, set pre New Hope.
So like a
Tales
of
or
Jabba's
at least
palace,
pre,
kind of thing, like that old
pre Jedi,
yeah.
but it could be any, I'm guessing somewhere around there. But
it's The Godfather, but Star Wars.
Yeah,
I guess, and
maybe.
I hate to echo anything that our shared cosplay husband Todd Oxer would say, but it's just so granular. You know what I mean? We had Boba obviously in his first and last chronological appearance in Return of the Jedi. Then we jumped backwards, to his added on appearance that happened in A New Hope in the special editions. Then they dialed him back to a cameo in episode 1, and then he was featured from bit by bit in the Clone Wars. Am I missing anything? Do we see him in Rebels?
Yeah,
I
no,
don't
that's
yeah, that's it. So it's like
he was mentioned in Rebels.
Yeah,
he has a cameo
right.
in not Fallen Order. It's the next one.
The sequel to Fallen Order. Is it?
Yeah, he has a cameo.
No.
I mean, I feel like where we touched upon this obviously when the show was on, and Oxford said it, and again, I hate to agree with Todd, the iconoclast of our grouping here, but not every character is meant to be a star. You know what I mean? Was Boba Fett meant to be a star and have his own show? I don't personally think so. Were there moments in that show that I enjoyed? Sure, but there were usually not moments with him. You know what I mean? So could a movie with Jabba the Hutt be enjoyable? Potentially, but I feel like I would be looking outside of Jabba and being like, "Oh, look at that great thing that Nine Numb did, or Three E's, or not Nine Numb, sorry, one of the other flunkies in the palace. Look what Bib Fortuna's up to, doing his side hustle. To me it's just crazy in the weeds. I don't know. I just don't think that it would have flown. But for the fact that I feel like these days there are more canceled Star Trek or Star Wars projects than there are Star Wars projects that have been made, because it was so and so was going to have a film. This guy Patty Jenkins is going to have her X-Wing film, and so was going to do this thing or that thing. Star Wars is cancel culture. That's what Star Wars is. What else can we cancel in Star Wars? I just don't know. And right now, I don't know. Jog my memory. Is there a Star Wars film of the Filoni movie, the one that is supposed to draw
together? Movie and the Rey movie.
Yeah, are really supposed to draw everything together, are being discussed. But of course, we're at the end. The writer's strike is now over, thank God. The SAG-AFTRA strike is entering its second week of serious negotiations, not aggressive negotiations, so no lightsabers. But once that's over, then more things come into focus. But let's face it, before the writer's strike, they still couldn't settle on a project they really wanted or give us anything concrete. So it just feels like Star Wars is very TV these days, and a lot of people don't like it, and a lot of people do love it, but it's just what is. But anyway, waxing philosophical as I do.
What were your thoughts on this? You just learned about this as I shared the link, right? So what initial thoughts reading and hearing what we're saying? How are you feeling?
I mean, facetiously, if they made a movie about Jabba the Hutt, as in the humanoid with black hair, that would be fun.
The stand-in from for the back footage of episode 4.
No,
Ezra
Bridger.
Yes. Now I got it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to do that because that was.
Well, I made the same. I tried to make the same. He kind of appeared in Rebels.
Right.
All right. Yeah.
But other than that, I could see how a gangster movie could work if they did it right. Like I said, Godfather and Star Wars, but because Jabba has enough of that what little we've seen of him interacting with people, you could make it work.
Right.
But I'm not sure what kind of story you would want or be able to tell depending on what time period you pick. Because like with The Godfather, it's like you can just kind of do whatever you want because, you know, you got it's kind of loose, but we know there's a, you know, an empire that's cracking down on all that sort of stuff. So how would you tell that same kind of story with that going on? And when someone's like, we're doing all this really cool world building, it's like, I mean, most of the world building's been done already.
It's world.
Like, what are you talking about? Whenever I hear someone say stuff like that, it's always, I'm unapologetically a canonista. So there's moments where I hear that and I'm just like, does that mean like you're just kind of building out what we would see, or are you changing things? Like, I don't know.
And I guess, you know, there's one concept that I think I said for Rey's movies of like, you know, if Palpatine is actually finally defeated, is there a vacuum? What happens? How does, you know, what's worse? What was Palpatine protecting us from, keeping us, the Empire, safe, right? Like the Empire wanted.
If we're going to go with that idea, it's not clear that they want to. I mean, that's what Zahn keeps pushing for, but
yeah. But so that's, you know, like I wonder if that would be the same thing here. You know, as the Empire takes over, is that when the criminal underbelly kind of comes over and takes over these little sects, and like is that showing?
Yeah,
it could also be like if you were able to, like if you were to use this to establish like how widespread Jabba's power is, then if that had happened, then it would have made, and I know Charlie's not going to necessarily like this, but it would have made Book of Boba Fett a little bit larger potatoes than it was.
Right, really? but it just didn't.
Well, it didn't happen, but I'm just saying it would have helped to make the, like if we had Jabba the Hutt's thing that made it more obvious that his empire was a lot larger, a lot more involved, had a lot more stuff going on, then Boba Fett trying to take it over would be a bigger deal.
Right. I agree. Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
My.
Yeah, that may have, because that was the thing with the Book of Boba Fett, and I think we talked about this like while it was going on, while we were talking about it back then, was like it kind of feels like, you know, the dog chasing a car kind of thing. It was like he doesn't really know why he's chasing the car. He just sees it, he chases it, and now that he's caught the car, he's like, I don't think this is for me. And that's basically how the Book of Boba Fett ended. But like, yeah, that could have been of like he you know, Boba sees this thing, and it could, even if they release this now, I mean now it's canceled, but like if they release this now, could it do that Clone Wars thing of like going
retroactive justification in a way?
Yeah, so when you do watch them in chronological order, you're like, oh yeah, that Jabba movie really set the tone for this Boba thing, and now Book of Boba Fett is awesome.
Right.
You know, I wonder if we could have had that same effect, or if that's what they were going for, or if it was just Guillermo del Toro being the weirdest person he can possibly be and being like, I don't know, let's make a movie with a giant space slug gangster that doesn't speak English.
I think the third option really pulls up. Yeah, the not speaking English part really reminds me of that 15-minute block in the Star Wars holiday special where it's just Wookiee speak with no captions. Okay, it's time for commercial yet. Yeah,
when I first saw it, I saw it on like Putlocker or something, so I wasn't sure if I was just missing subtitles. So I was just sitting there completely lost the first time, and then I got clarification that it didn't have subtitles. I was like, okay, this is the stupidest thing ever.
Oh my god! Incredible. Oh, I love my bootleg of the holiday special because I got it at Wizard World Chicago in 2010 or 2011, and it was recorded off of a station in Metro Baltimore there on Thanksgiving of 1978. So all the original commercials, one of which is a great commercial for General Motors about some guy who works on the line in my hometown of Detroit. Like, hey man, coming in is a black dude, and he dresses. At the end, he changes in his locker. He's wearing all his Soul Brother gear. It was pretty sweet. Really made me feel at home.
Nice. Yeah, mine was. It's like a digital copy that a guy I used to work with gave me.
Oh my gosh!
Here, have you ever seen this? It's terrible.
I cannot make my wife watch it. It's not allowed.
I had. When I was in college, someone pulled it back out. They cut out the grandpa special scene because they didn't want to see it. But they were like, hey, do you want to watch this again? I was like, No, I've already watched it.
No.
I don't need to. I don't need to sit through that.
It was a moment in time that has passed.
No.
The problem with that was like being the no nerd on the floor. It was like I don't want to be like heckled the entire time of how bad this is.
Yeah.
Look what you did. Oh my goodness. Well, shall we dig in? Shall we get a shovel and dig our way out and back in again?
Let's jump to Ahsoka.
Ahsoka. We're going to be talking about episodes 3 and 4. It's a fairly reasonable conclusion that you've watched it by now. The show actually now being over, but if you have not, take a moment, jump over to Disney Plus, watch episodes 3 and 4, and please do come back. Okay, episode 3 is part 3. Time for me to fly. Anybody? Peter's not going to know that one. He doesn't do the 80s rock. Nope.
I mean, I do some 80s rock. I just apparently not that one.
REO Speedwagon from Chicago. There you go. Anyway, directed by Steph Green. Writer is Dave Filoni. Big surprise from August of this year. Ren restarts her training under Ahsoka and Hu Yang's guidance as she struggles with her inability to use the Force, with Hu Yang takes every opportunity to tell her that she sucks, which I just thought was pretty stone cold, but whatever. Syndulla meets with Chancellor Mon Mothma and a group of influential senators in order to gain permission to send Republic forces to Cetos. I love the Cetos. It sounds like a good place to just take a load off. Cetos. Mm-hmm. Despite Mon Mothma's support, the senators refuse to believe that Thrawn and Bridger are alive and deny Syndulla's request. Does anybody else feel like the Senate is just absolutely worthless? They can't do jack shit. And in the end of it, they get blown up. They get blown up by Kylo Ren. Kind of seems like they deserved it. All right, I know that I'm editorializing at this point, so I'm just going to keep going. Ahsoka, Ren, and Hu Yang travel to Cetos themselves, where they discover the Eye of Sion, but are intercepted by a squadron of fighters led by Hati and, that would be a Jedi Billie Eilish, and Merrick, as Elsbeth uses cannons on the Eye of Sion to fire on them. Just as Hu Yang finishes scanning the Eye of Sion, Ahsoka's shuttle takes a direct hit, forcing the group to make an emergency landing on the planet, passing through a pod of Purrgil, Freddy foreshadowing, along the way to evade the remaining enemy fighters. After taking refuge in a forest, Hu Yang gives his full analysis on the Eye of Sion, which he classifies as a hyperspace ring designed to travel to another galaxy, of course. However, Jedi Billie Eilish soon becomes aware of their attempt to hide, prompting Skull to dispatch his forces into the woods to hunt them down. Dun, dun.
All right.
On with part 4, or do we break down part 3? I can't remember what our format was.
Let's do them together. I feel like these two episodes pretty much flow together as a pair.
It's a good gel.
Let's break them both down together.
All right. Part 4 is Fallen Jedi. Peter Ramsey directed, Dave Filoni, from Labor Day weekend. Ahsoka and Ren are attacked by Skull's forces, but are able to dispatch them. Fearing that Elsbeth and Skull, I love Skull just because I think of a dude who's from Toronto, spitting his chewing tobacco.
Skull and Hati are from Norse mythology.
Very good.
So you can look up the history and meaning behind those.
That looks a lot better. They acquire the coordinates to Thrawn's location, fearing that they will acquire the coordinates. They head to the base, but are intercepted by Billie Eilish and Merrick. Ahsoka kills Merrick, and he disappears in a cloud of farts, as Todd was fond of saying. Continues on alone while Ren stays behind to hold off Billie Eilish, who realizes Ren cannot yield the Force. Whoops. Ahsoka reaches Skull, and the two engage in a wicked-ass duel. I loved it. Ahsoka retrieves the map, but tosses it aside after it burns her hand. Ouch! Skull sends Ahsoka plummeting into the ocean. Ren holds the map at gunpoint, but Skull manipulates her into handing it over, because that's what the Sith do, or Sith-ish. Sith adjacent. By promising to take her to Bridger. After Thrawn's location is revealed, Skull destroys the map to ensure they are not followed, and he and Billie Eilish depart with Ren as their prisoner. A squadron of New Republic fighters led by Syndulla arrives at Cetos and tries, but fails, to stop the Eye of Sion from jumping into hyperspace. Meanwhile, Ahsoka awakens in the world between worlds, where she is met by her former master, Ed Sullivan. I'm just kidding. Her former master is Anakin Skywalker, and about the most convincing CGI that I've seen ever of
Yeah.
de-aging, in my opinion, after watching 20 minutes of Harrison Ford trying to imagine that 2023 Harrison Ford is 1992 Harrison Ford. This took 20 years off Hayden Christensen's face and made me believe it. I was impressed, and even in the 5 or 10 seconds that we saw him, and obviously that's where the story is going to go from there. But oh wow,
Mm-hmm.
2 episodes filled with a lot of action-packed craziness.
Absolutely. So, I guess first off, what did you think of these as a pair? As you know, the first 2 episodes kind of established some things. Do you think these episodes picked up enough of the pace? Do you think we got it moving along at a fast enough pace? How are you feeling by the time we hit these episodes of how quickly the show is moving? Because realistically, if we got a movie, 3 episodes is probably about what the movie length would be. 4 would be pushing it to the length of a pretty long movie, especially
Right.
if some of these were a little bit shorter, right?
Right.
So you have to think if this was an Ahsoka movie, it'd pretty much be wrapped up by now.
Yeah.
You think it was moving at a fast enough pace that it justified being a show, or did you feel at this point that we were getting a little bit of filler? Peter?
I don't know that we were necessarily getting filler in the sense that it was just there to be there, or to just stretch runtime. But episode 3, at least for me, felt like it sagged a bit.
Yeah.
When you put them together, they work, but having that week in between, you're just sitting there like, okay, let's we gotta get to the next bit.
They're sitting in the woods. It's like, oh, they're sitting in the woods. Okay.
I mean, I was okay with how it worked, but making that whole bit into a full episode was a little long, at least for me. Just because it was like, and we're getting to the planet, and we got to the planet.
Yeah.
And that's kind of it.
Yeah. Well, they had a space battle, which they probably could.
Yeah, I mean, you had the clip wing Spitfires come after him. So
yeah, it was cool and it was fine. But if you cut that out, I don't necessarily feel like you would have missed anything. They could have shown up at the planet and maybe the Eye of Science shoots some lasers at them and they got to, duck through the minefield or whatever, through the asteroids, kind of like a la episode 2, and then land, and then get damaged and land on the planet. So you could have cut all of that out. So you probably could have, of this segment, which was, 2 40-minute segments or whatever, you probably could have lost 10, 15 minutes. Probably could have lost a sequence or 2. Because I feel like the space stuff, even though the show is Star Wars or the franchise is Star Wars, kind of wasn't really critical the way that some of the other pieces were, potentially.
Yeah. So, I mean, episode 3 was just kind of the not the best part. Episode 4, though, picked it up a notch, and that got me. And I'm not going to say it was just the final shot. The final shot definitely helped, but I really, really enjoyed a lot of elements in episode 4. So for me, that really picked stuff up.
Mm-hmm. Same.
Great exchanges. My favorite scenes for sure were your dual battle scene that happened in the forest, and then Balin versus Ahsoka was fantastic. Kicking and throwing and chopping shit, and it was Western
brutal. Versus Eastern swordplay.
Yeah,
I was just gonna say we basically got a new lightsaber form. Like this is not
Skull's lightsaber form was really cool. It was more broadsword based, which was really interesting.
This was not samurai based kind of. This is not a form we're used to seeing. This is, like you said, broadsword for a giant guy. Like this is,
and just
I imagine this is like developed for Wookiee Jedi or something. Like this was like a big dude swinging a lightsaber, but knowing how to use that and use his own size, momentum, and surprising speed to his advantage.
Yeah, the interesting. Go ahead.
No, I would say his form and his dress. I noticed both with him and with with Billie Eilish, his Padawan, how very Game of Thrones they are. It just really feels like they are wearing very traditional, medieval armor to my eyeballs.
They're nice.
Real knights. But
to me, there is also just a little bit in the costuming, because I love getting into the nitpicky details. But some of the costuming, the texturing was actually similar to Kylo Ren's outfit in 7. So I have suspicions of where that's going. I don't think we'll see much of it for a while, but it was an interesting thing of note of that bit. It was also interesting for the lightsaber style that Skull had. There were definitely parts of it where he moved like Vader, in terms of like the powerful step and the movement. So it's not the same form that Vader used, but there's definitely some reminiscence there, which I thought was kind of fun.
Yeah. Every once in a while they'll throw that in, like that first episode, like the hallway scene, his introduction, it was pure Vader just tearing down a hallway kind of thing, right? Like it showed that intimidation size factor and just the power and the drive of like, no, I'm not stuck somewhere with you're stuck somewhere with me, like not, that's it. You're not stuck in a room with, he's not ever stuck in it. It doesn't matter how many people are in there. He's not stuck in a room with 100 soldiers. 100 soldiers are stuck in there with him. Like they're dying.
Reminds me of the Vader Down comic that Marvel did a few years ago, where the rebels all had him to draw, and he said, "No, I'm not. I see that you're surrounded by me." And then he killed everyone.
Surrounded by fear and dead men.
Fear and dead men. And he took care of business. Without a doubt.
So yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, he is just that threatening, imposing figure. This whole thing, but straight across the board, episode 4, the fight scenes I thought were fantastic. Even Huyang getting into a little scuffle was just like, okay, this 25,000-year-old
robot punching
and take care of himself
in his little extra arms, which we see. I don't know if this was the first time we saw them, or we do see them later on. But I love his back arms, his back knee. He's like beep bop boop. Yeah, robot fighting is pretty sweet. It was. I started singing that everybody was kung fu robot fighting, or like Rock'em Sock'em or Real Steel or whatever it is you want to throw in there. It was pretty sweet. I'd love to see that. Love it.
Did you guys? Okay, Marok. We had some. Peter, you get that evil little laugh. You know where I'm going with this. Did you guys have some crazy, or did you guys got caught up in crazy theories? Because I went full on like, this is Vader's secret apprentice. He's the only Inquisitor to survive this long. He survived. Are you telling me an Inquisitor survived until after Return of the Jedi? Holy,
that wasn't the theory I was.
I'm so washed out on fan theories now that I just I won't say it goes over my head. I see the same headlines I'm reading Screen Rant and the different Jedi news, the Star Wars news, .net. I just ignore it because it's never. I mean, when was the last one of those that came out that was like, oh my God, they were right? I mean, am I drawing a blank? Was there
hasn't been since the Force.net in the early days during the prequels?
Yeah, that they actually came out with, and it's really blah blah blah. Yeah, it's just it's all bunk. So I'm just like, he's probably just some dude. And as it turns out, he was a Fartian. What is it that Todd kept saying? He was a bag of farts.
He was an undead creature.
Yeah, which
it was foreshadowing for later.
Yeah,
which we're
that's
not
exactly what it was. Which once I saw that happen, I was like, oh, I thought, okay.
Yeah,
exactly.
And we've seen that with Inquisitors before. The one that Ahsoka struck down in even Tales of the Jedi was seemed to be a gaseous being, if not the exact same thing. Was something similar, like that mask and stuff just deflated.
Sith fart bag. There you go.
We saw a similar kind of mist come out of Savage Opress when he died, I believe.
Oh,
that was the connection that I was making, was Night Sister magic.
Yeah. Oh, it's magic.
So we, we knew
the outlandish theory that I heard that I thought was funny. I didn't really put a lot of weight to it, but because of Filoni's predilection of putting all of his favorite characters back together, The theory, you might know where I'm going with this one. The theory that I saw was that this was a reanimated Kanan.
Oh man,
okay.
That someone that was going to be pulled out and just like thrown in Sabine and Ezra's face, but then he got killed. It was like, well, then it obviously can't be.
He was such a crispy critter the way that Kanan died. I didn't even occur to me.
I mean, we all thought Maul was dead. So
yeah, well, yeah, that was a stretch right there. Let's face it; he was chopped in half. There was very little reason to think
Vader.
Yeah,
you know.
Oh my goodness.
So, but that was the outlandish theory that I heard. That I thought it was an interesting idea.
Yeah, I love him for the interesting ideas, and like you said, Filoni is one of those people that like loves to bring back characters, loves to take things. He's been quoted as saying, something along the lines of like, if it already exists, I want to see if we can bring it into canon in some way to make the fans happy, to do this, to do that. So like when I see those kind of things of like, yeah, he's finally bringing this back, or he's finally bringing that into canon or whatever, it's like, it's crazy, but I believe if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be him.
Oh
and
my God. You better watch out. You're putting a curse out there that we're going to see that special Wookiee scene from the holiday special. Oh, here's Grandpa having special feelings about the Diane Carroll hologram. No.
Listen, if after this series, if anyone's going to pull it off and make it fun, it's going to be Filoni. I don't know. I got faith in the man at this point now.
You got him. You got him in your Star Wars bingo card. Filoni, holiday special.
he's got my trust at this point.
Oh my God.
We kind of mentioned it, Charlie. You said it was pretty savage of Hu Yang back in episode 3 to literally just straight up say like, I've been training Jedi for 25,000 years.
Yeah.
You suck. You're the worst Jedi I've ever seen.
In episode 2, he said something about her having the worst force potential of any.
I think I even was watching it. Yeah, and like she was getting like when she was practicing her forms early in episode 3. April and I watched this evening. And I said, who would be like, boy, you are really bad at this. Holy shit, Oh, so I mean, yeah.
Do you guys think it's? Do you think that's like Filoni's and their way of saying, like, we know that fans can kind of nitpick things. Don't worry about it. We got this. Or do you think it's kind of a way to bring even stuff from the sequels in with like Broom Kid of like anyone can be special, anyone can use the Force. It's just a thing. If it's in all living things, you can eventually train up. Is that like what do you guys think so far? The point of like specifically a few times calling her out for that, and of course we kind of benefit from seeing where this series has ended.
Yeah,
but even at this point, I had those kind of thoughts of like, she's going to do something, or they're just straight up desperate. Like, can you swing a lightsaber? Cool. Into battle you go.
Yeah, right. It's like, hey, can you fog a mirror? You're working here. Do you have a pulse? You have a job. Work a register at Starbucks, please.
So, do you think it was just Hu Yang being a 25,000-year-old sassy droid that
he's a crank.
He's just another,
and he just doesn't have to care. He's like Data from Star Trek, but he's kind of a dick. I mean, kind of, right?
What? So did you think he that was just him? They were just writing him just to be a bit of a dick?
Yeah, equal portions. Equal portions.
All right. Peter, any reasoning behind it at this point? Did you
when I saw it the first time without using meta knowledge, my thought was that they were trying to show that Sabine was trying to be something that she was not, simply because she missed Ezra. And that's where I thought that was going, was like she missed Ezra so much that she wanted to follow in his footsteps, because the last thing that they did together was training with Darksaber and amongst other things. Right. And so I was like, well, she could honor his memory, maybe work with Ahsoka to find him. And so she chose to do that. She's just not good at it. That's where I thought that they were going to try to show like, hey, this isn't your thing, but you are, you're a Mandalorian, you're a badass in your own right, and you can accept who you are and then move on. That's what I thought they were going to go with some of the other bits and pieces, especially in a couple later episodes, that it seemed to be some of the themes that were going through. So that's kind of where I thought that was going at the time.
I like it. I like that. That's that's pretty good. And I mean, it kind of like it was kind of accepting, like it kind of landed on that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it didn't fully take that. It didn't take it the full way, but it did use that bit. Yeah,
yeah. You were definitely at least in the right kind of field.
Yeah,
I think.
I was in the ballpark. I wasn't a home run, but I was in the ballpark.
Definitely, yeah. We're inside the park home run. I'll give you that, or something, something close. Any other like scenes or bits from these episodes that really stood out to you guys? Because we're gonna get to that last line very shortly.
Yeah.
So anything else?
One of the things that really stuck out to me that I really appreciated was the scene between Skull and Sabine.
Yes.
Partially because it wasn't exactly a fight. They were talking. There was manipulation. But they also, this was something that I thought was something that needs to happen more often. And Filoni's willing to do it, but a lot of people aren't, is to let your characters fail.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Ahsoka failed. I mean, that was its own thing. But Sabine made that choice.
Yeah.
She made that call.
Yeah.
It was a bad call in the moment. Was it in the long run? We shall see. But
true.
But in that moment, she gave into the manipulation that Skull was doing.
Right.
And I really liked how they allowed that whole moment to fulfill that narrative movement where your characters have their downward fall and have a fail so they can have that rising motion later. So it's something that has to happen, and a lot of writers and directors aren't willing to allow their characters to do that because we can't show weakness in the characters. But this makes our characters much, much more relatable. And for a Sabine especially, it shows how much pain she's in like a more of a visceral way than her just like saying, yeah, my life sucks. It's she's willing to give in to the dark side like Ahsoka was worried.
Yeah.
Because she's like, well, you just freaking killed my master.
Right.
I've got no other options. This is it. Screw everything. I'm doing it. And so there's just, I really appreciated how they did that and showed like the attachment, but also just the desperation and just, it was, I really, really liked that whole bit there.
And I thought that perfectly, again, going back to this makes something else better. Her refusal to train Grogu a little while ago makes even more sense because she saw, again, she had this experience with Sabine before she met Grogu. She saw that potential of the dark sides. She saw, I can't just train anyone. This is tough. There are no Jedi left. I got to be really, really choosy. And if I see even a spark of that, I could be right. And she was right on. She nailed it. Like, as soon as the shit hit the fan, Sabine was like, cool, give me some more shit. I don't know. Let's lean into this.
Right.
Like, just, I'm going to start throwing too. Let's go. So like, it totally makes sense that Ahsoka was just like, I'm not training anyone. No, I'm out.
I'm out. I quit. I'm hanging up my Jedi shoes. Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought like even painted that stuff in a better light while also, like you said, just characterizing or humanizing Sabine of like, everything sucks. There's no right answer here. You chose the wrong answer, but there's still no right answer. Either your friend's gone completely. These guys are seemingly your last hope.
Wow.
But like,
she is totally Star Wars is Gen X. I love it. Rosario Dawson, because she's she's closer to my age. I love it. In the words of my generation, whatever, man.
So the final bit, hey Snips.
I think we knew it was coming. I feel like headlines and buzz and kind of tails wagging and other social media had told us that that the great H was coming. It was great. I was smiling. Damn, I was smiling. I was very excited. And what a great stinger for what a great hook for a show, that doesn't need to hook you because you're going to come back and see it anyway. But I know our entire next episode, we're going to get very granular and break down this episode 5 because there's so much stuff going on in it.
Yeah. It's a great episode.
But yeah, it was very satisfying to someone who watched Clone Wars very carefully. I was there in the beginning back in the summer of 2008 when their ridiculous theatrical movie came out and we Ahsoka for the first time. Yeah, it was very satisfying. It was satisfying to see her at the cusp of what's going to follow, and that nice setup. And like I said, the best de-aging CGI I feel like I've ever seen was accomplished in a television show. So I was as opposed to like Harrison Ford and trying to do that, I just didn't quite click.
You say you don't need a stinger in a show that people are going to watch anyway. But this was the episode. That was the moment that I called my brother and said, "Are you watching Ahsoka yet?" And he said, "No, I think we're going to wait till it's all released." And I said, "No."
People who do that make me crazy.
Yeah. Well,
especially we had to throw a guy out of SFU about a year or so ago because he got confrontationally violent because we were talking about something that happened on a show that was still on, but 3 or 4 episodes prior, and he told me to go F myself, like me, the admin, and so he had somebody who had been with us on the group for several years, but obviously just, I guess that was his short circuit. But yeah, he got himself thrown right the hell out of the group because you don't talk to people like that way.
In our people really don't like spoilers,
Yeah, but when you refuse to watch a show at all, and you're like, "Oh, I'm going to wait till it's over." It's going to happen to you.
And that was part of my fear, was this is going to be spoiled on you by next week or possibly by tomorrow. Like, this happened. Right. Please go catch up.
I at least appreciated, as much as I hate the time frame, I appreciate that it comes out at the end of the workday.
Yes, you can watch it before bed
for the United States, because at least when like Mando was coming out and all that, I had to like scrupulously avoid the internet while I was at work during the day.
Yeah.
Because you had bozos would post like, "You'll never guess who appears in this episode." It's like, well, thanks for the silhouette, ding dong. I know who that is.
Yeah. Well, in April when I would always watch it first thing, and I remember a guy. I shared an episode of, or I shared an image of, oh my God, Mando, blah blah. We're watching Mando right now, and I shared a visual of Mando flying, holding Grogu, which was not a spoiler in any way, shape, or form. And this dude, who I'm clearly not friends with anymore, lost his shit on me. Oh my God, how dare you, you son of a bitch, burr. I'm like, how is that spoilery? He's flying. That was all you saw was Mando flying with Grogu in his arms. You already knew he had it. Yeah, you already knew he had a jetpack because this was
Funko Pop in my living room with the same thing.
This was in season 2. It was the episode where they visited the Rock and Grogu was kidnapped by the Dark Troopers when they had to fly up to that summit. Not a spoiler image, but some people, much like the 2 people I'm talking about, just A, don't know how to communicate like a human being, but B, yes, you're right. Hypersensitivity to spoilers is a dangerous game. But yes, I agree. Even Loki, Marvel's Loki, which is airing right now, airs Thursdays at 9 p.m. So it's kind of the same thing. If you're, it's not too much of an inconvenience to catch it before you go to bed. If you work on first shift, for example, which we all do, it's easy to catch that kind of stuff. So, but yeah. Some people really don't like spoilers and don't know how to deal with their emotions about having something not spoiled for them. So yeah. Anyway. But yeah, it was crazy, and then what follows in episode 5 is even crazier. So, but we will get you with that next time.
Peter, what were your thoughts on Hey Snips?
I don't think that I heard the Hey Snips. I heard the voice and was like, ah. So I don't think I actually heard him say that, because I immediately knew what was happening, because I saw her head, because I was like, okay, she's gone. And then it was like, okay, we're in the world between worlds. Then it pans up and you confirm it. It was like, okay, now we're going to see Anakin, because this is the only place that he can appear.
Right.
And so I knew exactly what was happening. So then when I heard a voice, I was like, So I think I leaned over and I was like, "It's the world between worlds," and so I didn't hear that ethereal "Hey Snips" before I saw his face.
It was very ghostly. Yeah.
But I loved it because, as we have mentioned before, I am unapologetically a prequels fan. So I was very, very excited to see Anakin Skywalker make a reappearance.
Absolutely. Yeah, very similar reaction. I did hear it the first time, but it was all like I was watching it by myself. It was, late at night, and it was just like the whole house was quiet, and it just the hay snips, and my jaw just fell. Like I even kind of like similarly, like I'm like, this is where we're gonna see him. This is what's happening. It's gonna be, and it just everything just kind of, but it fell in when it actually happened. It was just like it kind of felt like the opposite of the Merrick theories and stuff. It was just like everything was like, hey, this is what it could be. This is what it could be. And then he's like a cloud of smoke. But it was like, okay, Anakin's coming back. We're going to get Anakin. We're going to do that. So like you see Merrick like burst into a cloud of smoke and you're like, every theory.
Yeah, well, what is fine.
15 minutes later, you're like, oh my God, it's Anakin freaking Skywalker.
It's happening. It's like that. Remember that dude in Iron Man 3, the guy, the remote truck guy, and Tony Stark walks in the truck and said, "Mom, hold on, something magical is happening." That's what this was. Yeah.
Max from Happy Endings. If you haven't seen that show, it's
that was good. What is that actor's name? Is it not Adam Brody? What is his? I'm drawing a blank. I know that he's been
drawing a complete blank.
Yeah,
sure.
Okay,
fellas, this has been a lot of fun. Anything else you want to touch on before we wrap up?
No, I think this was a decent turn for the season. It was kind of okay up to this point, but I think when we hit Hay Snips, we're going into what's known in Buckaroo Banzai circles as maximum overdrive. The overdrive oscillator has been activated, and here come Peter, help me out. Was the dimensions from Alien Planet 10 or whatever? What the hell was it? Watched that movie a couple weeks ago.
Buckaroo Banzai? I haven't watched Buckaroo Banzai, so I can't help you there.
Oh my God, I'm sensing a Buckaroo Banzai watch for you and a Battlestar watch for Mark. At least Mark, at least the mini series. It's 3 hours long. It gives you an idea if you enjoy it or not. You can see it on. Do you have Peacock? Do you have Peacock in Canada?
Yeah, I think we have Peacock in Canada. I don't subscribe to it myself, but I'm sure I can.
Telling you, much like I had you watch the first episode of Lower Decks, which we still need to do a reaction take on that one. I would love for you to watch that Battlestar miniseries. You will get sucked in. Peter, back me up here. He will get absorbed by it because it's that good. It's that good.
Brutal.
And brutal. It is. Yeah, it is. It touches emotions that aren't fun emotions. You know what I mean? It's just, it's really something. And very Canadian. Michael Hogan, you're not going to get much more Canadian than that guy. Timo Penniket, very Canadian. You know it. So anyway, plug.
Thanks, fellas. This was great. Peter, thank you once again for joining us. Tell people where they can find you on the internet.
You can find me around at Petrus Aquinas. I'm not terribly active, but you can find me. You can also find me role-playing over at ELH's YouTube and Twitch channel. I will soon be running a game myself, so we'll see how that goes. But there you go.
Peter does awesome work with us. And Peter, I need to mention, I bumped into the person who runs games at Grand Rapids Comic-Con, and they're interested in having you run one or two. Peter ran games for us at Grand Con, a tabletop gaming convention for us last month. As part of the USS Grand Petoskey, which my wife April and I run, biggest chapter, one of the biggest chapters of the International Star Trek Fan Club in the world. We're based here in West Michigan. I'm also privileged to run Michigan and Eastern Canada. Folks out in Mark's neck of the woods who are trekkers should definitely hit us up at a website of that name. Otherwise, you can find me on Twitter /X at the C3. And I need to get a little bit more serious about Threads and about Instagram, which I'm doing a bit more, but I am C3 Carpenter over there, spell out C3, and you can find me there. I usually take pictures of my cats or whatever. I'm not super active, but hey, my cats are cute. You'll enjoy it. Trust me. Give me a follow. You want Reddit. Mark, what about you?
You can find me everywhere as _Canardian, and especially over in our Discord channel. So jump over there, let us know what you're thinking about Star Wars, Star Trek, video games, whatever else you're into. There's a channel for you.
right now, April and I are trying to find a terrible Halloween horror movie to watch for our bad movie segment, of which we just published on our Patreon, our coverage of the movie Cats, and it was terrific. But anyway, yeah.
Thanksgiving?
Say what?
Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving? I haven't.
Todd
recommended Troll 2, and of course I've seen my Bloody Valentine, which was made right there in your CBI. But anyway, not to get too far into the weeds, friends, thank you for joining us. As always, I'm going to tell you that sharing is caring, and to keep on trucking.
May the force be with you. Rex, play us out. I just let it go for like 20 more seconds.